Thank you for tuning in to the More Than Just Science show, and I'm your host, Professor TK the Chemist. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our show on this beautiful day. You could be anywhere else, but you chose to join us today, and for that, I want to say thank you. If you want to get in touch with me about anything you've heard today or on my past shows, please reach out to me on Instagram at TK the Chemist, Twitter and Periscope, TKTheChemist01, my website, mygemsforkids.com, Facebook, My Gems Science Center. And guess what? We also have an online store where we sell science treats and shirts for kids of all ages. So if you have kids that like slime and all that gooey, ooey, sticky stuff, head on over to Professor TK the Chemist online store. We are uploading a lot of new fall items, so please be patient with us, guys, as we upload them. You know, we're preparing our store for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And that's around the corner. Now let's get down to the topic of today. Grab your pens, papers, and recording devices because this biology lesson is about to go down. Are you ready? If so, let's go. The common cold, flu, strep throat, urinary tract infection, cellulitis, stomach flu, pneumonia, bacterial vaginosis, middle ear infection, sexually transmitted diseases. You're probably wondering, why am I giving you this list? Well, these are diseases caused by microorganisms that invade tissue. And as you know or may not know, your skin is the largest organ of your body. And do you all know and realize that the main function is to protect your body from infection? Sometimes your skin becomes infected, and there are skin infections that can be caused by a variety of germs and symptoms. You know, guys, and it can vary from mild to serious. So, for instance, if you have a mild infection, that could be treated with over-the-counter medications and home remedies. But if you have other types of infections, those would require medical attention. So, let's say, for instance, you wake up sweating. Your body is sore for no apparent reason. You get your thermometer, you check your temp, and you figure that you must have a fever. And then your throat begins to get sore. You are getting sick. But what is wrong? So you tell your friends, y'all, my throat's sore, I got a fever. First of all, they don't even want to be near you as soon as you say your throat is sore and that you have a fever, because it could potentially be what? A virus, a bacterial infection, something that could be transmitted, and you don't want no parts of that. You tell your coworkers and other folks, and they think that, you know, maybe you have the flu, maybe you have strep throat, or even malaria. However, some of those symptoms can be similar to other conditions that can actually infiltrate your body. And you know what? That could be a problem. Let me give y'all some other signs of severe infections. Pus, blisters, your skin is sloughing off. You have dark, necrotic appearing skin that appears to be discolored and painful. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what causes, these skin infections? It could be a bacterial skin infection, and let me tell you how you can get that. You can get it because it could actually enter your body through a break in the skin or something as simple as a cut or a scratch. And if you all have never seen this show called, it slips me. It's a show that comes on TV, and it's basically talking about all these little bacterial and microorganisms that you cannot see with the naked eye. And when those little critters get into your body, it could take over your body and lead to an untimely death. And it could cause your immune system to shut down. It could cause other things to come about within your body. And something as simple as scratching your skin could lead all of this. You could also get a viral skin infection. And those are most common, from 3 groups of viruses, like the pox virus, human papillomavirus, and the herpes virus. And I'm sure you all have heard of those before, associated with, sexually transmitted diseases. However, it can actually get you even if you're not, sexually active. Then you can have fungal infections. And sometimes our body chemistry and lifestyle can increase the risk of these fungal infections. For example, you may be in the gym, and why would you do this? I don't know. Why would you walk around barefooted in the locker room? I don't know. People do that. I mean, I go into the locker room when I'm changing, and I see women just walking around carefree with nothing on their feet, getting in the shower. And I'm like, ew. Like, I don't want to eat from your kitchen table, that's for sure. But you may also have bouts with athlete's feet, and because especially if you are a runner or if you sweat a lot, fungus tends to grow in warm, moist environments. And if you have sweaty clothes or wet clothes, you could put yourself at risk for skin infections. And don't let you have a break or a cut in your skin. Honey, that's the gateway for bacteria to go deeper into the layers of your skin. And then you could actually have parasitic skin infections. Now that's yucky and nasty, because this is when you have little tiny insects or organisms underneath your skin laying eggs. Ew. But it happens. Okay, it happens. We see these stories all the time. If you have pets, you want to be aware, because again, they may have little things on them from being in the yard, just simply using the bathroom. But infections that are caused by bacteria are treated with antibiotics. And there are several different types of antibiotics available that the doctor, of course, has to prescribe. Sometimes you can get some things over the counter, if you have like a small bacterial infection. But most of the time, you would have to get a doctor to prescribe you some heavy drugs to get rid of that. But let me also say something about this too. If you think about it, if you keep your body tacked up with garlic, ginger, cayenne pepper, onion, particularly red onion, those things are weapons against bacterial infections. And this actually goes back to the ancient Egyptians' time, when they were actually taking care of infections that some of them were getting, and from their environment. And so they discovered that you can use something as simple as garlic, cloves, ginger, things that tend to warm up the body, can actually, smother those bacterial infections. But in order to make sure that you're being treated correctly, you may have to go to the doctor. And this is when they'll swab your throat or get a urine sample. But again, you got to remember, antibiotics do not work on infections caused by other types of microorganisms, such as viruses or fungi. And some people get those two words mixed up. So I'm going to actually give you all a little bit of details about that, because you got to keep in mind that bacteria and viruses are not the same. So let me kick some facts to you so you can understand the differences between the two. And let me also tell you this, all right? There are some other pieces of information that we don't typically talk about, and that's parasites. So with those 3 categories, I'm going to go a little bit deeper today and give you all some information about that. But you may have heard this term called stealth germs. And that's part of like the precursor to this thing called the germ theory. And this is basically when you have infectious organisms that enter your body and can harm you or even kill you without you ever knowing or feeling like you had an infection. That's what's so horrific about this. You could be walking around with something that you have no clue that you have. A lot of girls and guys are walking around here having unprotected sex, and as a result, they're contracting herpes, HPV, chlamydia. The list goes on and on. You see what happened to Usher and his posse. the women who want to be with him because of the way he looks. They think, oh, he don't have anything. Well, looks are deceiving. Looks are deceiving. You may appear clean on the outside, but we don't know what's going on inside your body. So if you think about the differences between those two words, bacteria and viruses, I'm going to shed some light on the two. Bacteria is basically a living organism, unicellular, meaning one cell. Viruses, on the other hand, are not living, and they're not cells. Bacteria are larger compared to viruses. Bacteria reproduces asexually, whereas with viruses, they invade a host cell, taking control and copies the DNA and the RNA and destroys the host cell. Bacteria can be localized. Viruses are systematic. Bacteria is usually treated with antibiotics. Viruses, on the other hand, antibiotics will not affect the disease. But they both can cause diseases. They can be spread by coughing, sneezing, and coming in contact with contaminated animals, peoples, and items. And they are capable of killing you. So, here's something else I want to tell you too. If you look at the word bacteria, in Latin, it means little stick. And if you take a look at some of these pictures, you can see what I'm talking about. Viruses means, in Latin, poison. So, if you think about it, we do have bacteria that exist in living hosts and in all areas of the planet. So, we're talking about the soil and water. And by nature, they can be good, which is beneficial. We have beneficial bacteria, and they can also be bad or harmful for plants, humans, and anything that comes in contact with them. Okay? So if you think about it, you have bacteria in your gut, which also, if you all don't know, bacteria in your gut is like your second brain, okay? Your second brain. And if you don't have your gut health in check, chances are it could lead to a lot of other things that I'm going to share with you all coming up shortly. But if you think about it, viruses are the smallest and simplest life form known, and they are 10 to 100 times smaller than bacteria, as I mentioned to you earlier. And the biggest difference between viruses and bacteria is that viruses must have a living host, like a plant or an animal, in order to multiply. But bacteria can grow on non-living surfaces. That's why you have to be careful where you are walking, like if you're touching the doorknobs, touching your cell phone. My daughter, who was in middle school at the time, did a science fair project, and we went around the house, the car, and public places, and just swabbed different areas. We swabbed the remote control. We swabbed the kitchen sink. We swabbed the doorknobs. We even swabbed our pets' mouths. We swabbed the steering wheel. We swabbed money. And do you know that these little organisms live everywhere? Everywhere. And that's something that was very shocking to us, to see how swift bacteria grew from simply swabbing those areas that I mentioned. I mean, we had like a list of over 15 things that we just went around swabbing. You'd be surprised at what was actually the dirtiest. And these are things that college students are doing. I've done this with my students before, where we went around the campus and just swabbed different areas. And we actually looked to see which one of these cleaning products could actually eliminate or reduce the amount of bacterial growth. And it was very fascinating for the students to actually witness this in the Petri dish. But you know, an example of a disease caused by bacteria is strep throat. And an example of an affliction caused by a virus is the flu. Now, you know, we say, oh, we're in the flu season, which I have my thoughts on this thing called the flu season. But I'll say that for another day. But we have to remember that if you just simply wash your hands every time you touch the door, every time you come across people who have sneezed, every time you come across a child that may possibly be sick, every time you come across someone who doesn't have proper hygienic practices, you want to wash your hands. When you're coming out when you're going inside from those ailments from the world, so to speak, you want to take a shower because you don't know what you've transmitted into your home. Many people will remove their socks and their shoes at the door before they walk all through their homes because you are transmitting different things from outside into your house. So if you stop it at the door, that's one level of security. Let me tell you, there are some different bacteria that are related to certain things that we don't recognize. You know, infections can be brought about because of bacteria. And let me tell you, bacteria can live in extreme environments of cold or heat. Okay? So, to say that I'm going to not wash my hands because it's cold outside, maybe bacteria can't survive on a doorknob that's cold, you're wrong. You're wrong. We know that bacteria loves warm, moist environments, but it can also survive in the most coldest climate. Some infections that are caused by bacteria, as I mentioned to you before, is like strep throat, tuberculosis, and also urinary tract infections. Yeah. And if you think about viruses, you know, like I told you before, they're smaller than bacteria, but they require a living host. And a living host would include people, plants, or animals in order for them to multiply. Now, otherwise, they can't survive. So if you think about diseases that are caused by viruses, they would include chickenpox, AIDS, the common cold. And sometimes it's very difficult to determine whether a bacterium or a virus caused your symptoms. Things such as pneumonia, meningitis, and diarrhea can be caused by either bacteria or viruses. Of course, your doctors have to do a cultural, in order to know what's going on. So if you go in and say, oh, my throat is sore, or, something else is happening to your body where you give them these symptoms like you have a fever or you have chills, your doctor may have to give you, may have to take a sample of your urine, your stool, and blood in order to get cultures to test to see if those bugs are actually brewing in your body. And of course, they identify this under a microscope. So let's go ahead and take a look at some examples of these, of what they will look like underneath a microscope. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So for instance, as you can see here, this is one of the bacteria that could actually develop anywhere on your countertops, your doorknobs, or even inside of your body. Something else that could occur is that if you have viruses that attack your body, it's basically attacking the blood. And then some of these viruses go for your respiratory system, and some of them target your liver, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys. And like I said before, like bacteria, viruses can be transferred through pretty much anything. Surfaces, they can be in the air, and of course, bodily fluids. Now with parasites, I did not tell you about parasites. I didn't give you that much info about parasites. But you know, sometimes we talk about parasites and saying, you know, we describe them like people. You know, people have a parasitic mindset. You know, it is a good metaphor for how they are in terms of them needing a host in order to survive. Kind of like, you know, parasitic people need negative energy in order to, you know, thrive. Okay? Well, same thing with parasites in nature. They need a host to survive. And they use other living things for shelter and food. And do you know that in order for some parasites to thrive in your body, you have to feed it things like sugar? Yeah, sugar. Sugar, that's one of the #1 things that your body should stay away from because of these hosts of bacterial, viral, and parasitic infections that could be caused as a result. And let me tell you, people often think that parasites are in like rural areas, but let me give you all some tips. It is not. Parasites can live in rural areas as well as developing areas of the world. But because you may have poor sanitation or, you know, poor hygienic practices, yeah, you have the breeding grounds for parasites. We often hear about water and food being contaminated with sewage. And of course, if this is the case, then the most common way for these cells to infect new hosts is through your body. Parasites can also be transferred through food, like if you mishandle or undercook food. Insects carry these things and they transmit their parasitic eggs within your body. I actually witnessed a video where these doctors had to remove thousands of worms from this lady's brain. Okay? Thousands. And it all started off with a headache. Come to find out, she ate pork and it was undercooked. So it attacked her body, specifically her brain, and she almost died. She almost died. So we have to be very careful when we are in the environment, when we're around people. And speaking of being around people, what happens if you have no control of who you are around? Can you still get sick from some of the things that I mentioned? Yes, you can. And let me tell you how. The reason I'm bringing this up is because if you haven't heard already, there was a situation that happened at the University of Hartford where this trifling girl had the audacity to cause a lot of emotional distress towards her roommate because this chick was poisoning her own roommate with her nasty bodily fluids. Yes. Let me ask you, how many of you have had to deal with some type of roommate issue in your college years or in general? You know, everybody's had a roommate at some point in their life, whether it's on a camping trip or you having to, you know, room with somebody for a business trip, whatever the case may be. You may or may not have had any issues. You may have been lucky. But I'm going to share you with you all a quick story that I had with my roommate my freshman year. So check this out. Back in the day, I grew up in a household where, you know, we didn't eat pork, okay? My father said, we ain't doing that. Don't even bring it in this house. It is unacceptable. So we rolled with that. We didn't eat pork. So my father ordered a refrigerator for me. And I had the big refrigerator, okay? My daddy, you know, he always goes against the grain. Like, if you tell him that these are the requirements, he's going to go over the top and say, well, you know what? That may be the requirements, but I'm going to get you what I want to get you. So he ordered this big refrigerator for me. Not like the size in your house, but like the step above the little hotel size refrigerator. He ordered the bigger one. So my roommate had the audacity to do something that I told her not to do. I said, look here, you can put whatever you want in this refrigerator as long as you don't put any pork in there. I'm good. So I go about my way, go to band practice, and I come back. She went to the grocery store, and inside my refrigerator was some bologna. Y'all, I lost my mind. I went in on her. I told her, look here, didn't I tell you you could put whatever you wanted to in this refrigerator, but don't put no pork in my refrigerator? And she looking at me like I was crazy, like I had two heads on my shoulder. I went off on her, and I let her know that she was very disrespectful for the mere fact that all I asked her to do was not put that in my refrigerator. She could have whatever she wanted. But she felt like it wasn't a big deal. It was just pork. Now, I could have went in and did some other stuff to her, but I didn't. I just told her I needed it out of my refrigerator. By the time I get back, I had to go cool off. And when I came back, that pork was gone. Now, although my story is not as malicious as the one I'm about to share with you, it's nevertheless despicable that this girl's actions that I'm about to share with you has caused some things that, we don't even know what could be in her near future. So let me give you all some facts about this barbaric act, okay? It was very disgusting. As I heard this story and actually heard from the young lady, I was disgusted. This rancorous girl's name is Brianna Brashew. I don't even really want to say her name, but I gotta say it for the sake of this story. And the victim in this case is Jazzy Rowe. Now, both of these girls are freshmen. Okay, freshmen. So, you can only imagine. You're away from home, trying to figure out life in general, and, you're sharing a room with a stranger. She did not discover that she was being poisoned until after she moved out. So, here's how it went down. I'm going to let you all hear a little bit about what she has to say. But as you listen to her story, I just want y'all to visualize. And look at these pictures I'm showing you. She revealed that her roommate had shared posts on Instagram detailing how she rubbed used tampons on her clothes. All right. Now, y'all, that's just, really spitting in her coconut oil, because then she had the nerve to put mold in her lotion and admitted that she rubbed this child's toothbrush, quote unquote, where the sun don't shine. Now, of course, Jazzy was not suspicious that her roommate would do anything like that. She was getting sick. She said that she noticed that her throat was becoming painful, where she couldn't even speak. So she went to her health clinic, and they prescribed her some, meds and told her, all right, you should be good to go. But she kept getting sick. And they did a culture on her throat, said nothing's there, but you do have bacteria within your body. So now, I have an issue with this. Because as you think about what was happening in the background, she didn't know that her roommate was doing all these foul things. And this has been going on for over a month. Almost 2 damn months. 2 months. So Jazzy was like, look here, I'm moving out. You know what? Something just ain't right. And when you all see these pictures that this chick was doing to Jazzy, anybody that has any good sense would know that this is foul beyond, okay? Like, I don't even have enough words and vocabulary to describe the feelings that I had when I saw this. And the girl had the audacity to refer to Jazzy as the Jamaican Barbie. Now, if you see Jazzy, yes, she is a very beautiful young lady. So apparently there was some jealousy going on with her. And of course, Jazzy took this to her housing administrators, and they told her, oh, don't, we can't really do nothing about that. That's just an issue you're going to have to work out with your roommate. And they also told her, if you take this to social media, we're going to remove you from your housing. So, of course, she's like, but I'm the one being victimized. Why am I having to be threatened because of something that she's doing to me? So, of course, Jazzy goes to social media. She does it anyway. And now, as we see here today, this is Saturday, November 4th, This girl has been arrested and charged with third-degree criminal mischief, second-degree breach of peace, and intimidation based on bigotry or bias. Of course, she's been expelled from the university, and, you know, she reportedly admitted that she did these things on Instagram, some of them, but that all she was doing was making up some of those lies so the story could sound funny. That's some BS. I don't believe that. If you said you did all those nasty things, your ass probably did it. You can't tell me you didn't. You did it. And why would you say those things if you didn't do it? Okay? Why would you say it? So that shows you the type of mindset that she has. Now, to me, this is a threat towards Jazzy's body. We don't know what this other girl possibly have had, okay? So all those things that I mentioned at the very beginning of this story was to basically show you how she could actually have some diseases, some chronic diseases that could appear in her body a month from now, a year from now. And we don't even know, as a result of what this chick did, that could possibly cause something to happen to her years to come where she may want to have children. And let me tell you why I say that, because as I go through and give you all a list of these pathogens that could actually precipitate into other issues in your body, we don't always know how what you do in your early years could potentially cause diseases in your later years. Of course, there are environmental toxins, genetics, epigenetics, things that happen when you're pregnant, stress, diet, and lifestyle factors. We get that. If you're living in certain environments, certain things can happen to you. So I'm going to give you all a list of these things. But you know what? I hope that girl that did all these things, I hope they throw the book at her monkey ass, because it doesn't make any sense to me that she had the audacity to do all these things and was bold enough to say it. I checked out her Instagram page, and what started off as her following people and them following her. Of course, her account is now private. You can't see, and she's no longer following anybody, but her following count has increased. Now that's trifling in and of itself. And to me, this could be classified as a hate crime, because she was poisoning her roommate because she didn't like her for whatever reason. She referred to her as a Jamaican Barbie. And some people would say, well, she didn't hit her. Well, guess what? She hit her with her bodily fluids. That to me is grounds enough to say, you know what? She was trying to basically attemptedly murder this child. If you're giving somebody bodily fluids, that's considered vile under no recourse. Case in point, you've heard stories where men have gotten mad at women in the past, or vice versa. Women have gotten mad at men in the past when they've contracted HIV/AIDS. And then they go around just having unprotected sex with all these people and giving it to them. Saying, well, you know, it happened to me, so I need to give it to somebody else. And in some states, they consider that attempted murder. Because you took something that was considered a life-threatening disease that could cause somebody's untimely death. So let me give you all some science behind what we see here that's often associated with these infections. For instance, anybody that's suffering from anorexia, that's because of an infection with Borrelia. These are species of bacteria associated with anorexia, and it's like an infection that's kind of like similar to streptococcus that affects your body. You also have people who have asthma, and asthma is associated with rhinoviruses, human respiratory syncytial viruses, and the bacterium Chlamydia pneumonia and Chlamydia pneumonia. And it's particularly associated with the adult onset of asthma. You then have kids. I know we hear about this all the time. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. This is often associated with bacteria Borrelia burgdorferi and streptococcus. And sometimes you can get viral infections during pregnancy, at birth, and in early childhood. And as a result, those could potentially give you risk factors for ADHD. And of course, people who are depressed. Depression is associated with protozoan parasites like Toxoplasma gondii. And it is thought that depression may be precipitated by the effect of immune signals such as pro-inflammatory cytokines, reaching the brain from infections located in the peripherals of the body. So again, when you get these bacterial infections entering into your body, it could cause the onset of diseases. Diabetes, same thing. Same thing. Diabetes type 1 and type 2. Those are often associated with hepatitis. And if you think about it, we have to be careful where we're eating, because sometimes you could have a person who's infected with hepatitis C, and here you are eating food that was prepared by them, and there you are sick. That's why you can't sling your leg under everybody's kitchen table. Okay, you can't be eating after everybody's food, because some people are nasty. Obesity, also linked to bacterial infections. And remember, I had said earlier, you got to keep your gut health in check, because there's this thing called HP. Okay, they refer to this as the Halobacteria pylori that's in the gut. And if you have too much of that, it can link to cancer also, like stomach cancer. People who have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, that's often associated with Streptococcus and Borrelia species bacteria. Same thing with panic disorder. So I just wanted to give you all some science behind that as to why I was so irritated hearing about this girl giving this young lady, Jazzy Rowe, bodily fluids and putting old clam dip in her lotion, because this child could actually get any of the things that I mentioned. You know, bacteria needs a host. Viruses need a host. Bacteria and viruses can live anywhere. So we have to be very careful about the things that we're coming across. During this time of year, people are sick. Anybody that knows about sneezing, if you sneeze, do you all know a little interesting tip about that? Sneezing can actually travel over 100 miles per hour. So when you sneeze, think how fast 100 miles per hour is. You get in your car, you've probably driven 75 miles per hour. Think about how fast that is. Now think about how far that can spread. I can't stand to hear people sneezing in the grocery store, because I know they didn't cover their mouth. I know they didn't. And by the way, you should sneeze in your arm, in your elbow, pit of your elbow, not in your hands, because you got to use your hands to do what? Get money, answer your cell phones, touch doorknobs, and all of the above. I'm going to come back and give you all some more tips about this stuff. The things that I mentioned, there's more to all of this. So, guys, the most important thing that I want you all to take away from this is be aware of your environment. Be aware of the people you are around. Be aware of what you're eating, what you're putting in your body, what you're putting in your mouth, what you are drinking. Be aware. Be aware. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the More Than Just Science show. And I want you guys to continue to tune in every Saturday. Every Saturday. I'm your host, Professor TK the Chemist, and you've been listening to the More Than Just Science show. Have a great Saturday, everyone. Have a great Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Whatever day you are listening to this, have a great, awesome one. And I want y'all to always remember to educate your mind, body, and soul with words and thoughts that will empower you. I say this every day. The library is free. You don't have to have money to go to the library. Malcolm X once said, education is your passport to your future. Young people, elders, get up, get out, and get some knowledge. Be allergic to average. Be allergic to negativity. Elevate your vibe and don't let anyone, no one, nothing lower your aura just because they aren't in the right space. Learn something new every single day. And always remember to raise your vibe. Remember, you can, you will, you must. You can, you will, you must. Go out there and make it happen, fam. I'm going to close out and love y'all to life. Peace.